In a world where headlines are filled with war, division, and endless despair, there comes a story so powerful, so unbelievable, that it demands to be heard. This is not just another report about conflict, destruction, or politics. It is something far deeper, something that speaks to the very core of the human soul. Imagine a place known only for suffering and struggle, where hope has been buried beneath decades of pain, suddenly becoming the stage for an event that is transforming thousands of lives. Against all odds, light is breaking through the darkest shadows, bringing peace where there was none, love where there was hatred, and a sense of purpose where emptiness once reigned. The world's media may ignore it, leaders may remain silent, but the people living it cannot deny it. Their voices are rising, their hearts are changing, and their testimonies carry a power that no force on earth can silence. Stay with me until the very end, because what you are about to hear is not only a story of Gaza. It is a story about all of us, about what it truly means to find hope when everything seems lost. This is a journey you will never forget. Gaza has long stood as one of the most troubled and fragile places in the world, a land whose name echoes with the sounds of conflict, loss, and relentless suffering. For generations, its people have lived under the shadow of war, where destruction often arrives suddenly, leaving behind broken homes, shattered lives, and grieving families. The struggle here is not only physical, but deeply emotional and spiritual, as hopelessness seeps into everyday existence. Children grow up witnessing things that no child should ever see. Parents carry the unbearable weight of trying to protect their families with little means, and communities are constantly tested by circumstances that would break most societies. Amid this constant hardship, the world has often looked on, sometimes with sympathy, other times with indifference, while those inside Gaza have had to find ways to endure the unendurable. Daily life is a mix of resilience and despair, where people wake each morning uncertain of what the day may bring. The loss of basic necessities, the restrictions on movement, the feeling of being trapped in a cycle of violence and poverty, all of these realities combine to create an environment where hope seems distant. And yet, despite this unrelenting struggle, Gaza's people continue to hold on, surviving with courage that is as remarkable as it is heartbreaking. This context is crucial because it shows the depth of the wounds and the heaviness of despair that makes any spark of hope feel so extraordinary. To understand the impact of what is now unfolding, one must first grasp the weight of history pressing down on Gaza, and the reality of a land where countless cries for peace have too often gone unanswered, leaving behind a silence filled with longing and sorrow. Something extraordinary is being whispered among the people, a phenomenon that defies logic and surpasses the boundaries of human explanation. In the midst of rubble, fear, and ceaseless conflict, accounts are spreading of visions and encounters that are unlike anything experienced before. What makes this moment so profound is that it is not confined to one person or a small group, but is being reported by thousands across different areas, each describing a strikingly similar experience. The significance lies not in the details of what they claim to see, but in the overwhelming impact it is having on their lives. For people who have lived so long in despair, to suddenly speak of peace, light, and an inner transformation is nothing short of miraculous. What makes it even more remarkable is that these reports emerge not from places of privilege or comfort, but from a land scarred by destruction and uncertainty, where hope had nearly vanished. This event carries a force that no human power could orchestrate, something beyond politics, beyond borders, beyond even religion as it is usually understood. It touches the heart in ways that cannot be silenced, reaching deep into the souls of those who have witnessed it. Such a movement of spirit in an environment of despair challenges the very nature of what people thought was possible. It signals a change not born of treaties, weapons, or leaders, but of something that stirs unseen yet undeniable. The very fact that these stories continue to spread, despite fear and silence, shows the strength of the moment. It is a reminder that in the darkest places, there can suddenly appear a light so unexpected, so transformative, that it alters not just individuals, but entire communities who dare to believe they are experiencing something beyond themselves. The most astonishing element of what is happening is the way hearts are being transformed in a place where pain had seemed permanent. People who once carried only bitterness and despair are now speaking of peace and hope with a conviction that surprises even themselves. In a land where anger and fear have long shaped the rhythm of daily life, there is suddenly a new language being spoken, one of forgiveness, reconciliation, and inner calm. These are not small or casual shifts, but deep, life-altering changes that ripple through families and neighborhoods. Stories emerge of individuals who had lost everything and felt nothing but emptiness, now describing an unexplainable joy, a sense that their souls have been healed even though their circumstances remain difficult. Parents who once struggled to shield their children from endless trauma are finding renewed strength to nurture them with love and optimism. Young people who grew up surrounded by rubble and sirens speak about discovering meaning and purpose they never imagined possible. The power of this transformation is not found in material improvements, for the land itself still bears scars of conflict, but in the unseen shift within human hearts that cannot be denied. It is as though an invisible hand has reached into the very core of suffering and replaced it with resilience and hope. Communities that had known nothing but survival are beginning to rediscover life in its fullness, daring to dream again despite their circumstances. What is taking place is not just emotional comfort, but a profound reorientation of lives, as people abandon despair and embrace peace. In such a setting, the spread of transformation is unstoppable, because one changed heart inspires another, and from there, thousands begin to move together in a new direction that was once unthinkable. What makes this unfolding event even more remarkable is the quiet way it spreads, almost like a whisper carried on the wind. It is not announced with banners, news headlines, or political speeches, but rather in hushed conversations between neighbors, in the testimonies of families, and in the private confessions of those who can no longer contain what they have experienced. Despite the silence of major media outlets, and despite attempts by many to ignore or dismiss what is happening, the story continues to move from heart to heart and home to home. People share what they have seen and felt, often with trembling voices, yet with an unmistakable conviction that cannot be manufactured. The extraordinary nature of this moment lies in how it is growing not by force or persuasion, but by the undeniable authenticity of lived experience. Every encounter shared, every story told becomes a spark that lights another flame, and soon the glow begins to spread through entire communities. The silence of official channels only strengthens the intimacy of this awakening, for it belongs to the people themselves, untouched by propaganda or outside agendas. This is not the kind of movement that relies on mass rallies or organized campaigns. It is instead deeply personal, yet universally resonant, making it unstoppable in its own way. Those who experience it carry it with them, unable to remain the same, and in sharing, they awaken the same stirring in others. It is a wave moving quietly through Gaza, reshaping lives while much of the world remains unaware. And perhaps it is precisely this hidden, uncelebrated nature that makes it so powerful. For it shows that no suppression, no silence, and no indifference can prevent a light from spreading once it has begun to shine. In the midst of Gaza's darkest hours, where loss and suffering have weighed heavily on every generation, what is now being witnessed reveals the unbreakable power of faith to pierce through despair. When walls of hopelessness seem impenetrable, a light has appeared that does not come from political negotiations or foreign interventions, but from something much deeper and unshakable. It is a force that rises quietly within the human heart, offering peace where none should exist, and courage where fear has long reigned. People who have endured relentless trauma are discovering that there is still a strength greater than their circumstances, a strength that lifts them above the chaos surrounding them. This is not about denial of pain, nor an escape from reality, but about the presence of a hope so resilient that even destruction cannot erase it. In this space where anger and revenge might have been the only emotions left, individuals are now testifying to feelings of love, forgiveness, and compassion they never imagined possible. The endurance of such faith in the face of overwhelming adversity stands as a living testimony that the human spirit cannot be fully crushed. Even when buildings collapse and lives are shattered, there remains something untouchable within the soul that yearns for peace and connection. What is happening in Gaza demonstrates that no amount of darkness can smother the spark of belief once it has ignited, and that this spark can grow into a flame that warms entire communities. The power of faith is showing itself not as an abstract idea, but as a living reality, drawing people together in unity that transcends divisions and offering them a vision of life beyond war, beyond suffering, beyond the endless cycle of despair. What is happening in Gaza cannot be seen as a local story confined to one people or one land, because its significance reaches far beyond borders. In a world increasingly divided by politics, religion, and ideology, this moment stands as a sign to humanity itself, a reminder that even in the harshest conditions, the human heart can still be renewed. The transformation being witnessed speaks to something universal, the longing of every person for peace, purpose, and hope. It challenges the rest of the world to look beyond the noise of conflict and ask what truly has the power to heal. For too long, the story of Gaza has been one of destruction and despair, used by global powers as a symbol of endless war. But now another story is rising from the same soil, one that refuses to be silenced, carrying a message that touches every culture and every nation, that no situation is beyond redemption and no people are beyond hope. This awakening shows that the greatest revolutions do not begin with armies or governments, but with changed hearts. The world, weary of its own conflicts and divisions, cannot ignore the reality that a light has appeared in a place everyone thought was consumed by darkness. It is not a political shift, not a military strategy, but something purer and more profound, something that calls to the deepest part of our shared humanity. The message is clear. If hope can rise in Gaza, it can rise anywhere. If hearts can be healed there, they can be healed everywhere. And if peace can be born in the midst of such devastation, then the world itself must recognize that the possibility of renewal and reconciliation is never beyond reach. In conclusion, what we are witnessing in Gaza is more than just an extraordinary event. It is a living testimony that even in the harshest of landscapes, the seeds of hope can take root and flourish. A people long defined by suffering are now experiencing a transformation that words can barely capture, a movement of peace and renewal that no war, no wall, and no silence can contain. It is a reminder to all of us that the human spirit is never beyond healing, and that the light of hope, once kindled, can spread in ways that change not only individuals but entire communities. This story is not just for Gaza. It is for the world, a call to believe that no matter how deep the darkness, renewal is always possible. Thank you for walking with me through this journey, for opening your heart to a story many choose not to tell, and for daring to see the possibility of hope where others see only despair. May you carry this message with you. May it strengthen your spirit, and may it remind you that light will always find its way through the shadows. Good luck, and thank you for listening.